5, 4, 3, 1, off blast!
Nice.
Your cue.
Well, see, I was actually waiting for Don to start the cue because, normally he goes with "Greeting, fellow follower."
Yeah.
Still doesn't make much sense.
I like it.
That's still work in progress. Hey gang, welcome to another wonderful edition of NeviCast. This is your boy, Fearless Billy Nwanda, lounging as always, and let's go through the whole crew. We have our Demon Lord Hans right next to us.
The man, the myth, the legend.
Of course, our Master of Board Games, Rom.
What's up?
And our delivery man, Adon, with Super Dog.
What up?
At least she's not Pootie Dog this week.
No, not this week.
Give her
I
time.
took her out.
Yeah, very much so. So, let's jump right into it. So, the Crash Bandicoot trilogy just recently released on PS4. Really insanely high. Everybody's been looking forward to it.
And kids can't play it.
Not kids, adults can't play it, apparently. So, yeah, apparently, if you guys have been checking the internet for stories, you've been coming across a lot of posts from folks all across Facebook and Tumblr, Twitter, all that nice little jazz, about people trying to play through Crash Bandicoot, and they're all, talking about how the game is just too hard for them.
I can't remember how hard this game used to be easier. I thought no.
No. The game was the same difficulty the whole time.
But
just
I did see a video earlier where it was saying that they did a side-by-side comparison of the old game with the new one because all of the assets are gone. They had to completely remake the game, and because they did, some of the animations are slower, and the jumping is higher and more arced, stuff like that. So makes it a little harder to judge some things. But yeah, the one of the main levels that everybody had trouble with back in the day is even harder now because of that.
Well, the same token, though, it's just sometimes it can also be a muscle memory concern, because it's kind of like when we, for our generation, Gen X / early millennial, we all started gaming during, the Atari / NES era. That was our main, bag.
Yeah.
And, playing a lot of those games, even something like Super Mario Brothers back then, it was, you sat there and you got through it. You beat the game, you conquered it. Contra, beat it, conquered it, all that nice little jazz. But when
Still never beat Ninja Turtles, though. Or Battletoads.
Yeah. But, years later, of course, when you go back and you try to replay those games, it feels like the difficulty's cranked up quite a bit. Mainly because you've lost some of that muscle retention from back in the day.
Yeah.
So it is kind of an interesting thing to tackle, I remember one of the most infamous instances of this was when Super Metroid came out on Wii U. And you had a whole generation of kids that for the first time were getting to experience, one of the prime Metroid games.
Not Metroid Prime.
But yeah, it was the first big exploration game with Metroid, where of course you could go through areas which you could in the first one, but Super Metroid really upped the ante on that.
Yeah.
And it really didn't hold your hand on a lot of stuff. You had to figure out a lot of techniques yourself, and as a result, you had a lot of younger kids who came in not even the PlayStation generation. We're talking kids who were born during the 360 PS3 gen. That were trying to go in and be the most infamous one was this one kid was trying to figure out how to get Samus through a tight little pipe style corridor, and for any of us growing up, the obvious answer is, well, you use a morph ball. But he didn't know how, and instead he went onto Miiverse and was like, why can't Metroid crawl? So it kind of like spawned a meme, and it also spawned a deal of where a lot of older gamers, including myself, had to help this kid like actually learn how to play Metroid.
Or make them learn it themselves like we had to?
Well, I mean, you gotta keep in mind that like a lot of more and more so with a lot of modern games nowadays, there's always, the extensive tutorial section.
Press X to pay respects.
Yeah, press X to pay respects. So you
Quick
got.
time events are nothing new. They're
Yeah.
stupid, but they're nothing new.
But I mean, there's always like a giant intro section which teaches you the controls, and then the whole time you're playing through a lot of games nowadays, it constantly reinforces those controls on you.
And they really should cut that shit out.
Yeah.
The reason why a lot of us played games back in the day was because it fostered problem-solving skills. Okay, there's this tunnel. Samus is too tall to get through it. How do we figure that out? Do we go on the internet and whine about it? No, because we were stuck with the Devil's Air Raid drill and it took 5 minutes to upload the fucking thing.
That's why Mega Man X is still considered one of the best intro game levels.
Yeah.
Because everything in that level teaches you how to play the rest of the game.
Yeah.
Maybe a lot of developers should take a note from them.
And it doesn't like throw like, oh, when you get to a wall, you stick and then jump. No, you learn by doing. You don't. It doesn't give you like cues to how to do things.
Right, you would have to use common sense.
Yeah. It's like, oh, then like at the end of the level, you see Zero like charging up his blaster, and he's like, oh, I wonder if I can do that. And you hold the button down. Oh, I can.
Exactly, it leads to critical thinking.
Yeah.
As opposed to just being, having all the tools you need to play vomited onto you.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I mean, well, that's one of the casualties of, AAA game development. Is that a lot of them gravitated because they wanted to kind of go with that more cinematic style and feel to their games.
That's all well and good, but when you treat the players like they're freaking idiots, like they don't know what the hell they're doing.
You're making them into idiots.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's probably one of the killer things about like Kingdom Hearts 2 that really kind of just dragged on was the fact that you had to do like the 4-hour intro sequence with Roxas before you could move on to the game proper.
Well, in Final Fantasy 13, there was, a 30-hour intro sequence before the game actually got kind of fun?
Yeah, this is true. Because you spend most of 13 just like forcibly having being restricted and having your hand held, and then you finally get out to the zone where it's supposed to be fun, but then you can't even really do anything about within that zone until after you've beaten the game. So, yeah.
That's stupid.
Again, it's just like a lot of like game developers like in the AAA environment just kind of like the handhold quite a bit. Even Nintendo was guilty of that for a long time. They've only just now started to let up a little bit too. So with like Breath of the Wild,
Animal Crossing really didn't handhold. But there was almost nothing to Animal Crossing.
yep, very true.
Hey, it's beauty and simplicity.
It is at that.
And planting orange trees.
Have a nice day.
Okay.
As you can kind of tell, both me and Hans are like really hoping for an Animal Crossing Switch game soon.
That would be nice.
Yes, that would be.
I want to go steal someone's pears and plant trees of them in my town. Hey man, foreign fruit sells for like 5 times the bells.
Very true. Or that, or
Pro
getting-
tip.
Yep.
So, speaking of things that we didn't experience, what are y'all's thoughts about EA Sports?
The only major
Pass.
difference has been moving from pixels to polygons, and they release the same fucking game every year.
Yeah, pass.
Because
Well, okay, like, what do you mean by, like, as
I don't
far
like
as, like,
sports game. I don't like sports at all. So.
like so the genre itself, because apparently Street Fighter falls under sports somehow.
Esports.
Esports.
Because it's a
yeah.
Because
Fighting
it
game.
is competitive.
yeah.
So
Huge difference between sports games and esports.
what are your thoughts on esports?
They're stupid.
Yep.
I mean, I kind of like with esports. I think it really depends on the game, because there have been a few occasions where I've been able to watch some esports events and actually been really enthralled. Like a really good example was the Invitational that's held by Valve every year for Dota 2. One of the biggest prize pools too. It's actually kind of crazy how they do it.
Wasn't it like $1 million prize or something?
Yeah, like climbing up every year. It's probably got to be close to $2 million now.
But don't you have to split it between your teams, since Defense of the Ancients is, in theory, a team-based game?
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, you have to split it amongst your teammates, but still, you know, being able to...
There's also like chance for like promotional deals and stuff like that too, though.
Like any other athlete. But still, esports, I don't know. It just...
The thing that kicks my balls is, why is sports in the title? There is no sports in playing a video game.
Because it's competitive.
And you do have to train for it.
Yep.
Ooh,
There is
training.
the Quake tournament coming up at QuakeCon. I think there is $1 million prize on that as well.
Yeah, for Quake, well, I think it's $1 million prize pool on that one for Quake Champions.
Yeah. And that's going to one person.
But a lot of times with a lot of esports, like I think probably my biggest like knowledge base was watching Fatality back in the day.
Yeah.
Fatality, for a lot of guys who don't know, was a really big, actually still is, a really big first-person shooter competitive player.
And now he just puts his name on like video cards and stuff.
Yeah, like his main deal, he was the first to be really successful at it, and also the first to leverage it into multiple licensing and product opportunities. So he was actually able to get a lot of really good sponsorship deals at the time. That's allowed him to push his name out there, even though competitively he's kind of
Gone away
ever since.
What I want to see is a professional gamer on a box of Wheaties.
Well,
Then I will have to go on that rampage I've been talking about.
there's
Yeah.
actually something very similar, in my opinion. Apparently, this guy, Dago, the
Daigo.
Beast, gets
Daigo
his...
Imahara.
He's getting his manga now made. He's featured in a manga.
Yep. I heard about that project.
Yeah.
He even he's done an autobiography now.
Who is he?
Daigo Imahara is a world-class Street Fighter player. Like, if you've ever remember seeing the Evo video called, it's the most infamous
Moment
Evo.
37.
Moment 37. It's the moment where Justin Wong as the Chun-Li executes her, I believe it's her super attack?
Art.
Super art, and Daigo manages to manually block and parry every single bit of it.
Yeah, he completely techs out of it and then reprises with his own super art, and the crowd goes fucking wild.
Yeah, because he was like within a sliver of his life.
Mm-hmm.
Like Justin's Chun-Li had almost a full bar. He parried her entire deal and then basically wiped her out with his super in that moment.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, if you've played Street Fighter 3, then you know how fucking hard that is to pull off. And even though I detest esports, that was a godlike moment.
Yeah. I think, a lot of people tend to throw a negative attitude towards esports because it's just like, it's a bunch of dudes playing video games at the end of the day. That's what it is at its very base. But the thing to keep in mind is that for a lot of these guys, they not only have to train on those video games for 7 to 8 hours a day minimum.
Yeah, because they have to memorize every map and every location of everything.
Yeah.
And
or if you're
try to predict their opponent's moves.
Or if you're a competitive fighter game, you have to also predict, bounding boxes. You have to predict,
Frame data.
Air.
Matchups.
Yeah. Matchups, all that nice little jazz. That's just the video game part of it. That doesn't count, the actual physical training they have to do. As far as, these guys, if you notice, a lot of esports competitors, they don't look like me. They aren't like rolling around in the jelly. You know what I mean? They're actually very thin, very slender because they actually have to spend the time. Huh?
A lot of them are.
Yeah.
No, I mean, a lot of them are bigger guys.
Well, what I'm saying is, though, is that
Well,
a lot of the prime ones do spend a lot of time having to actually physically train and work out because they have to keep their bodies up in shape in order to match up with what they're having to do mentally.
Because they're having to do things hours on end, just
Yeah.
sitting still. So they have to have some kind of routine outside of just gaming.
Yeah. Because, I mean, like, there's a lot of mental mind games that they're having to do, so they have to, like, keep themselves up physically in order to be able to do it as well. So, it's one of those situations where, like, it seems really off kilter, but I can't help but have nothing but mad respect for those guys, because they have to, like, go in and put in a lot of effort and a lot of work, and a lot of times, you know, they're lucky if they can take home, you know, $2,000 sometimes at an event. Sometimes at $2,000, you know, they're in a team deal. They have to split that, you know, not only with their sponsor, which is somebody like Cloud9 or Everything Evil, but and then they got after the team manager takes their cut, then they can split it amongst the six of themselves. So it's one of those deals where it's just, again, I have mad respect for those guys because they have to put they have to put a lot of their livelihoods out. For not much of a take home.
Yep.
And all of a sudden it got really quiet in here.
Yep.
We're just waiting on our fearless Nuana to give us our next talking point.
Yay.
We'd be lost without you.
Yeah, this is true.
But then we'd probably just find a Burger King and we'd be set.
You mean a Whataburger?
No, Burger King. I know what I said.
True that. It has been a while, like, since we've had Burger King.
I just picked a franchise at random and now I'm just being difficult.
Yeah, you chose poorly.
It chose poorly.
Says the guy who...
Always eats Whataburger?
Yeah.
No, I was going to say delivers pizzas.
Yeah.
I heard that Batman is going to be a villain now, and Joker is going to be the good guy
For
DC.
in the comic series?
Yeah, in the comic series.
Oh. I've never been a Batman fan, so.
That's really fucking dumb.
Why
I'm
does
an
this not
agent of
surprise me?
chaos, but I'm a good guy now.
Yeah, because apparently, according to the story, society starts looking at Batman as a vigilante, and so
Because that's what he is.
and
Yeah, he's
they
always been one.
and they don't like that. So attitudes change, like politics change, and so now the roles are reversed, and so now the person who is the voice of reason, according to the comic, is the Joker.
It's like really...
That's moronic.
Yeah.
I'm sorry.
That's
Yeah.
DC being DC, though. 'Cause they're
Yeah, that's
stupid.
kind of strange that they would be doing that. I mean, I don't know, because normally, like, with the DC books, they try to at least have some kind of rhyme or reason to it.
Well, we think the Joker's more popular, so he's the hero now.
Yeah.
Something like that, actually.
Watch him be
well-
altruistic and save people. Watch us completely rape the character into oblivion.
So
And
like,
then retcon them back so that we can make that easy
Unfuck
money
it up?
time. Yeah, so we can unfuck it up in time for the next Suicide Squad movie.
Or, you know, our next goddamn reboot, because we're DC.
Yeah. I don't know, it does kind of give me vibes of, like, the whole Steve Rogers being an agent of Hydra all along type bit. They've been trying to run in Marvel now.
No, they canceled that.
No, it's still going. It's even worse. They doubled down on it with Secret Empire.
Oh my god.
Yeah.
I thought they already did Secret Empire.
Well,
It was Secret War.
I know there was Secret War, and that was quite some time ago.
No, they did a sequel. They did a new Secret Wars last year.
Yeah.
And now, like, yeah, it's rough to keep up with Marvel
didn't
stuff.
they like merge all the universes or something?
Yeah, because basically what happened was the last year's Secret Wars gave them the opportunity to finally merge all of their different universes together.
So they got Miles Morales in with Peter Parker at the same time.
Yeah, pretty much. So,
Speaking of Peter Parker, Or I'm sorry, continue.
No, go ahead.
Okay. How was the movie?
It was fucking amazing.
I haven't seen it.
It was excellent. It is definitely worth a watch.
Yes.
Hell, I'd be up for seeing it again.
Yep. It was that good.
Okay, because I trust on Michael Keaton. I love the guy.
Yeah, he is great as the Vulture.
Yeah. Can't argue.
So yeah, I mean, like, kind of like let's talk about it a little bit more. You know, like spoiler free, of course.
Yeah, trying to hold things back. So.
But at the same token, like how was the cinema direction? I mean, like direction of the film. How was the photography?
The cinematography was top notch. The acting was phenomenal. Every scene that Zendaya is in, she plays a character named Michelle. She steals the scene every time.
Oh, that's right, because she's African American.
I don't know what that has to do with anything, but
because she's the first African American girlfriend. That's why.
Mm-mm.
Who is it?
She's not a girlfriend.
Whatever.
Well, the love interest Liz is half and half.
Yeah.
Okay, and that is different.
Yeah.
Yeah, especially because traditionally with Spider-Man, they've either always gone the
Gwen Stacy or Mary
Gwen
Jane.
Stacy or Mary Jane route. So it is kind of nice that they're kind of taking a different stance with that. You know, kind of breaking the mold a little bit with the MCU. So.
And what was the best friend's name?
Ned.
Ned. He was freaking hilarious.
Oh,
Yeah.
isn't he Filipino?
Yeah.
Yeah. Again, you know, it's kind of like. Well, I think Ned, they kind of based off of one of Miles Morales' pals from the comics. Or it could have been, yeah, I think that might have been it.
And
But still, I mean, it's not Harry Osborn, so.
Donald Glover was in there for a short period, but yeah, if you know anything about the comics, then I'm not going to spoil anything, but you'll know who he's talking about later on in the movie.
Because it was him being in high school, I had this impression that it was going to be like
It is not another rehash of his origin story, thank God.
So,
no origin story. The whole high school thing seems pretty.
So it's secondary. It's not the main.
Yeah. No.
focus.
It's not like there are some like cliche moments, but it's not like this is all it is. He's in high school.
Yeah.
Yeah. No.
Like with Andrew Garfield, is that his name?
Yeah.
Like Amazing Spider-Man, how like it felt like the high school was almost. For the first movie, it was almost enveloping everything.
Yeah.
No, nothing like that.
Yeah. It's kind of like apparently how, everybody also thought it was going to be yet another Iron Man Tony Stark film
Nope.
with this one. And I think apparently, maybe you guys can confirm this, but like I think like the trailers had most of the Iron Man footage in the whole film.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Yeah. He was.
He's there, but he doesn't take over.
Yeah. And he doesn't like steal the scenes from anybody.
No. He actually plays really well off of Tom Holland's Peter Parker / Spider-Man.
Yeah.
It's just really well done movie.
Is it the,
There is one controversy going on right now though, because there's a time difference. Everybody's thinking that when the original Avengers movie came out, that it was based on the year that it came out, which was 2012. Well, at the very beginning of this movie, it says 8 years later, or 8 years before, or something like that. But
Oh yeah, there is that time skip.
that would put it in 2020.
Which maybe it's
Well, let's look at Gotham, which
Yeah.
is Batman's youth. Yet they all have cell phones now.
And they're still typing on typewriters. And
Exactly. With comic books, a lot of the time, to keep them relevant, you really can't bother to try to nail it down.
Yeah.
Just some questions you don't need to ask.
Yeah, it's like I'll let it go.
It's exactly. When did this happen?
But
It
that-
happened. Ain't it cool?
Yeah.
But with that, it's already like set that we know that it's in like a semi modern era where they have modern things like cell phones, but still using things like typewriters and old computers and things like that.
Yeah.
But with the Marvel Cinematic Universe, though, I mean, everything should be in a set timeline, and they haven't nailed it down yet. Of when
And I'm
things-
saying
Yeah.
they don't need to. Are you going to get a lithograph of the Marvel Cinematic Universe timeline? It is completely unnecessary.
Yeah.
They're movies.
Actually,
They're well done. Enjoy.
Actually, knowing Ron, yes, you would get a lithograph of the
Yeah.
timeline, wouldn't you?
Yeah, I would. I'd hang it right over here.
Yeah.
That's right.
Why not get something interesting?
That is interesting.
Who do you think is going to be the next villain?
Can't spoil it.
Demon Lord Hans.
Ah, man. All right.
Hey, he's a well-written character.
Okay.
Yeah, no. I
They
put a
are
lot of
making
time
a
into it.
Venom movie though next.
Yeah, I've been hearing about that one because like Sony is still not wanting to give up on their Spider-Man cinematic bits.
No, but
Are they waiting for that third strike before they're out?
I mean they're still going to be in the MCU though technically. Hopefully they will learn their lesson, and since they have access to the MCU characters, maybe they'll do a Maximum Carnage movie or trilogy.
Yeah.
That would probably have to be a trilogy.
Yeah.
And I would go see it.
Oh yeah.
It would really kind of depend. The problem, it would just I
Mainly,
don't know.
mainly because the rumor going around right now is that in the Venom movie they're supposed to have Carnage.
Yeah, it would probably a lot of it's going to hinge upon whether. Because, I mean, a lot of characters that were in Maximum Carnage they can't use for rights purposes.
Like what?
And then,
Like what? What characters?
well, I believe there's quite a few of the X-Men in there.
No.
Not really. I remember Punisher, they'd have to introduce Mobius. Cloak and Dagger, they're doing on Netflix.
No, it's was it their it used to be ABC Family. Now it's I forget what they call it now. But yeah, it's actually coming out on cable.
Oh.
Let's see here.
So Cloak and Dagger is coming out. Punisher has its own Netflix show.
Captain America is obviously a staple of the MCU.
Yep. Who else was in there? Black Cat. Venom,
Deathlock.
which was on Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D.
Ah. Mobius, who hasn't been mentioned at all.
Oh, yeah, Mobius. The good old Mobius.
I wonder how he and Blade would fare.
Yeah.
If they, met and teamed up.
Now that Marvel Studios has access to Blade again.
Well, didn't they try to do something with the cartoon? Am I just imagining that?
Mobius was in the Spider-Man animated series.
Yeah.
Very briefly,
Okay.
but it was during the later part of its run, so not a lot of people remember it.
Yeah.
All I remember was how bad the animation was. going
Yeah,
back and
that was
watching
good.
it.
Was
Love
that
the show,
was,
but
was that the vampire dude? Whatever.
Yes.
Yeah. Okay.
With the
yeah, I
hand.
remember that Peter was trying to study his own blood, and then a vampire bat drank the sample, and then bit Mobius.
Yeah, bit his hand. And
So-
Yeah, he had the little suction hands,
Yeah.
whatever.
See,
I had
I
those
mean-
toys. That was awesome.
Yeah.
Pretty much like the most difficult part about doing a Maximum Carnage is that they would have to be able to pull in a lot of the TV MCU peeps, which might be easier said than done because
They wrote around a lot of other stuff, so I don't see why they couldn't cut some of it out to make it flow better.
you like
Oh, wait, whoa. One big thing that would be a huge obstacle. Who owns the rights to Fantastic Four?
Fox.
Yeah, so that would completely cockblock it because the linchpin of that is Spider-Man getting the sonic emitter or sonic nullifier, some kind of sonic weapon to defeat the symbiote from Reed Richards.
And they changed Ultron's origin by making Tony Stark create
So
Ultron.
Tony Stark just happens to have a sonic nullifier?
I could see it.
Yeah,
they would
right.
be able to do that.
Yeah.
Damn, I
probably
thought I was
would-
contributing.
Well, like, I mean, but the problem is that a lot of in order to do a lot of, like, really big crossover Spider-Man stuff, you need the Defenders. You need the New York peeps.
Yeah.
Jessica
And-
Jones.
And they have access to them.
Mhm.
And not easily. The problem is,
They're going
that
to be in the Infinity War.
that's not been confirmed.
Yeah.
No, it's not. It really hasn't. Not even Chloe Bennett knows if Quake will be in Infinity War. The problem is that Marvel TV and Marvel Films are two now completely separate divisions. With Ike Perlmutter completely controlling the TV side along with the comics division, and Feige now reporting straight to Disney. The moment that split occurred is all of a sudden weird rifts started occurring between the TV and the film side.
Yeah, I can see that.
Well, if you notice, there's also huge tonal differences between them.
Yeah.
You look
Yeah.
at something like Daredevil, you look at something like Luke Cage, you look at something
Jessica
like...
Jones.
Exactly. And then you look at... Hell, Spider-Man is a lot lighter tone than anything on Netflix.
Yeah.
The Avengers are all kind of popcorn movies where no one's in real... Hell, Captain America Civil War, that should have been high fucking stakes. People could have died. War Machine is slightly inconvenienced.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's much more like Civil War became much more of a interpersonal story between Tony Stark and also Steve Rogers.
But yeah, you had something that could have echoed the peril and or darkness of the Netflix series, but it completely veers left of it.
Yeah, because of the fact that they can't really risk alienating that crowd.
Mm-mm.
So, I mean...
It's much safer on the movie side.
Yeah, so I mean, because of that, it's tonally it's going to be difficult to bring in the Defenders into the MCU movies proper, but there's also a very strong chance that Perlmutter may not allow it, because Perlmutter and Feige are now like they do not get along with each other. That's why Feige went out of his way to get that autonomy in the first place, which is great because it allows him to have a lot more creative control. He can actually blow money to get really big stars, since like the really superstar cast of Black Panther. But it also means a lot of that crossover and it's all connected appeal may start disappearing here soon. Especially since all indications are more than likely Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. will probably be finished after this 5th season, since it'll now clear for syndication. And they're moving on to the Inhumans proper. So, there's even a strong chance we may never even see Coulson on the big screen again. So, yeah. It's kind of a rough and a tough pill to swallow, but,
Yeah.
you know, it's just kind of like how we're looking at it right now. But at least the good thing is, you know, we have a good Spider-Man flick.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So,
And there's no origin story.
Yeah.
With great power comes beating a dead horse.
Yeah, yeah, that's right.
But the thing is, that theme does run through the movie, but they don't have to say it.
Yeah. It's already
But-
there.
do we at least get a really great Nickelback song out of it?
No.
No.
And that was actually Chad... No, the guy from Saliva with him.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. Chad Kroger and, God, I can't remember his name from Saliva. It was kind of funny because, like, they recorded that song. It was just the two of them. Like, Dude from Saliva never even played the guitar on that song. Yet they had him playing the guitar on the video.
Of course.
And then, it's like everybody, all the other band members that were in that video, one of them being the drummer from Our Lady Peace, they never played on the song. They just wanted to get some folks like, hey, you want to come be in our video? Sure.
Oh, wow.
Earn a few extra bucks for the day.
Yeah.
But yeah, I remember when that came out too. That combined with like when the first Spider-Man came out, that was just like, it was just like, you know, like even if you absolutely hated Nickelback, you liked Hero.
Mm-hmm.
You know.
Well, I mean, it was the time as well. It's like a few months after 9/11.
Yeah. That's what I'm saying.
he was
Like
alluding
yeah.
to.
the time period and everything combined, it was like the perfect storm for Spider-Man to do as well as it did.
Mm-hmm.
So
That was just a good movie.
that's it.
Wasn't
Yeah.
bad.
True that. So yeah, we've been kind of like googling about comics. Let's talk some dank animus for a little bit.
My Hero Academia came out back out today.
Oh God! like less than 2 years, it's like My Hero Academia. It's Deku! It's my buddy! But yeah, the second half of the new season started up.
Yep.
And
New opening theme.
I heard the new ending's pretty neat too.
Yep. It's the animation for it's like a RPG. They're all RPG characters.
Yeah, apparently, I heard about that, and the inspiration was a few illustrations that the mangaka did, where he actually reimagined the My Hero Academia peeps as, like, Berserk characters. Including All Might with the Dragon Slayer.
Yep.
I didn't see the All Might, but yeah.
And then, what's her name? Zero Gravity chick. I can never remember her name.
Uraraka.
Uraraka?
Yeah, she was a mage.
Yeah, that makes sense. But yeah, so My Hero Academia started up. So the summer season is getting on its way.
Yep. Should be getting some new episodes of stuff soon.
Yeah, I actually started up a new anime this week. It looks like it is going to be extremely slice of lifey, but it does intrigue me because it's food service related. It's a restaurant to another world.
Actually, I saw a preview of that. It looked really good.
The first episode was really interesting, but that first episode was slow.
Okay, then I will not watch that one.
It's basically unless it's one of those deals where you're just wanting to watch really good food dishes being prepared and watching a demi demon having to work at this traveling interdimensional restaurant that as a waitress. Yeah.
No. I did watch. I did finally catch up to watching Witchcraft Works. I caught all of those episodes finally. That was a pretty good show. It was kind of weird, but it wasn't bad. They still left it open at the end, so if they ever do decide to go back, they closed it, but they still left it open enough where there's still questions that could be answered. But
if it sells well enough on Blu-ray, it'll get a second season. In other words,
yeah.
I wonder if that's probably what happened with Shingeki no Soma Food Wars, because that second season that aired a little while ago did not do so great in the ratings. A lot of people actually thought it was done. And surprisingly, it's getting another season coming up this fall.
Huh.
So, surprised the heck out of me, but of course I'm happy about it just because,
looks
Food
like
Wars is always a good season of show.
Looks like our camera's been slipping the whole time. It's getting higher and higher.
It's alright, I'm getting higher and higher too, and I'm just, sitting here. I'm high on life, See, don't you guys just love this pure cheese? See, the delivery man,
No.
Don, you just love this pure cheese.
Yeah.
But it's not easy being cheesy. And
Yeah, well, because Neil Peart is the greatest fucking drummer ever. But, anywho, so yeah, speaking of anime stuffs, Anime Expo, of course, was this past weekend.
you mean LineCon?
Yeah. And that's the story I'm kind of alluding to. So, the thing is with the Anime Expo is that they actually were one of the first cons to do the printing on site deal, but unfortunately they did not think to staff enough people for bag check and costume check. So you had so many people trying to make their way through that they couldn't do anything it just ended up...
They had one door open and thousands of people trying to get in, and each of those people had to have their bags checked.
Yep.
So, yeah, they had lines wrapping, snaking around the whole place. It's the same place where they held E3 just a week before.
Yeah. So it was kind of one of those situations where not so great planning leads to long lines, and which leads to actually led to a lot of people on Friday and Saturday not even being able to get their badge.
Mm-hmm.
Like, they got in line early and they went through the whole day and they still couldn't get their badge.
And they still couldn't. I mean, I don't think they got their stuff. Well, yeah, people were getting like 1-day passes and they couldn't even get inside to see the con.
Yeah. Because, I mean, there's so much, traffic being held up.
Yep.
So, it actually kind of, like, it's one of those situations where it kind of makes me go back to memories of, going to conventions and whatnot, and kind of like my experiences dealing with lines. And, like the first con, of course, I attended was Mid-South Con. And, Mid-South Con in Memphis had actually a really big reputation as being a line con itself on Fridays for the longest time. Because, like, at Mid-South Con, like, none of the badges were ever, like, a lot of badges were pre-printed, but they all had to be hand laminated. So there was, like, folks that would be up there that would, like, be laminating the badges, like, and then they'd have to check the paperwork and all that stuff. So, like, if you were trying to get on there on day one, which would be, like, Friday at the time, you would have to make sure to get up there, like, at, 10 a.m. to 12, like, to noonish. Because if you tried to show up at the con much later than that, you were going to be in line for, like, at least 3-4 hours. And that was kind of, like, small time compared to a lot of the bigger cons.
Yeah, it reminds me of the last A-Con I went to, where I actually tried to get a badge. Stood in line for, 3 hours before I finally got to the front, and they were like, oh, if anyone has a veteran's ID or is active duty military, you can skip the line.
Yeah. Let's say that, and even the A-Con one's really funny because, a few years later, like, we started attending A-Con in Dallas, and when we started attending, it was like, it was when it was finishing up at the Sheridan before it moved to the Anatole. And it was kind of funny because, we'd be snaking around the convention, the bottom of that convention center in the line, just like waiting and waiting, like, it wasn't so bad initially when we first started going because not too many people would think to go on Thursday to pick up their badge. A lot of people would go on Friday, so it'd be like
now it's an official like
day zero type deal.
Yeah.
But yeah, like back in the day, you could sit there and get in and out of the line in like an hour and a half tops, and you'd be good to go. I still remember actually, like, I think it was the second year we went to A-Con at the Sheridan where you and I were waiting in line. And
that was when we first moved here to Dallas.
Yeah, it was like when we first moved here. It was the second A-Con we went to. We were in the line, and there was a volunteer that was, like, just kind of talking around, and I think, like, y'all were having a conversation, and it came up that, you being ex-military, and all of a sudden he was like, hey, man, well, yeah, y'all just jump on ahead. Like, here, I'll take you over there real quick. And I was just like, yeah. But it's like, hell yeah! Kind of that kind of a deal.
Like, yeah, from then on, you're like, I want to be with, like, hanging out with you whenever we get badges. That way I can skip the line.
Yeah. Again, this was back when, of course, A-Con, like, they had the plastic badges, but they did the pre-printing, but they still had to look up your info manually and all that nice little jazz.
Yeah, that was back when they were still at the downtown.
Sheridan.
Yeah.
Yeah. And it was, of course, I still remember, like, when they first went to the Anatole, and the hell it was trying to get through that kind of stuff.
Yeah. One of the perks of being visually impaired is that I do not know what lines are.
This is true.
I think, I kind of drove him here, so I need to hang out with this guy.
Yeah.
He's my attendee.
But yeah, the first year of, I think like it wasn't the first year of the Anatole. I think it was the year 2. That Saturday, they actually had major fire code issues because they had a line like going all the way through the hotel of people just trying to get their badges. Because what ended up happening was that particular year, it was the year that Exist Trace was one of the musical guests. Excuse me. And one of the band members decided that they wanted to go check out the dealer's room for a little bit. It just wander around there aimlessly. And they when people found out, everybody bum rushed into the dealer's room. And the fire marshals got scared, so they're like, nope, get everybody out now. So they had to sit there and like even get everybody out of the registration lines. So they had to snake the lines all the way through the Anatole. And for those who have been to the Hilton Anatole in Dallas, you know, to pretty much span your reg line across the whole length of the hotel and convention center is a pretty amazing feat in itself. Only matched by folks waiting in the BYOC line at QuakeCon.
Yeah.
So, yeah, there are a lot of people who that year at A-Kon, like, weren't able to get their badges. You know, because by the time that they even could get close, A-Kon's reg line was closed up. You know? And so, yeah, it's kind of crazy. It was one of the reasons why A-Kon switched to printing badges on site, matter of fact, and did a lot of things to speed up the process.
Yeah.
Of which, you know, it kind of goes back to a common point that a lot of people have been making over the last few years is that why not just mail badges? Especially if you're doing like the plastic ones, you know, because you can encrypt some kind of technology in there or print it a certain way to make it almost impossible to duplicate, but just mail the badge out. That way people can actually go and enjoy the con.
Because people can, like, photocopy it and use Photoshop and make other copies and...
Well, I mean, like, but you know, like, what if they came up with a way to where they could use a printing technique onto the plastic that would make it almost impossible to duplicate? Because they kind of tried to do that a little bit with A-Kon's 25th anniversary badge, but they ended up printing that on paper.
Yeah.
But it had, like, it was like a kind of a design that was kind of watermarked into the badge itself. That I'm wondering if, like, if they could do something like that with plastic. Like, another good one is Anime Fest. With Anime Fest here in Dallas, they actually mail out badges to people. But with Anime Fest, they use RFID tech in the badges. So where, like, if you try to go into a panel room, the badges have to be scanned in. But as a result, you know, they can go and mail them out.
That's the problem with A-Kon, though. They don't scan badges. They barely look at them. They just, oh, you got a badge? Okay, go in.
Yeah.
That's the main problem.
Well, that's on the volunteers.
Yeah.
Because mostly it is an entirely volunteer staff.
And not only that, it's on the actual con itself because they don't have any way of, like, scanning badges or anything. They won't spring for the extra stuff to actually scan the badges.
Well, I mean, to be honest, though, like, I will say this. I mean, with A-Kon, they probably have to run on a tight budget when it comes to that kind of stuff. A lot of conventions actually do have to run on a tight budget, but I would think that it now needs to be more of a conversation about that. More conventions should look into mailing badges out, my personal POV.
Yeah.
Especially like super huge cons like Anime Expo, because yeah, I mean, it's really easy to replenish the numbers from everybody who, you know, decides like, you know, fuck this, I'm never going to this con again. Well, for every one of you that drops out, there are going to be 10 more that are going to be willing to take your place.
Yep.
But at the same token, you know, for long-term growth, you want to be able to keep people happy. So
Yeah, and with everything that happened this past weekend, probably turns a lot of people off from wanting to even try to go.
yeah, I mean, that could be a pretty big deterrent, especially for those traveling cross country.
Yep.
I mean, that kind of sucked, you know, travel all the way from, like, you know, either Texas or even worse, you know, the East Coast.
Virginia.
Yeah, Virginia or something like that, to go all the way over to Cali, all of a sudden not even be able to go enjoy the con,
Yep.
you know, because you can't get in.
Yep.
What are your thoughts about that delivery, man?
Well, what was the thing that they did for A-Kon where they sent you an email? There was a thing that they scanned, like you could show...
Oh, yeah, but you had to turn that paper in to get your actual badge.
Yeah, it was a confirmation email.
Yeah.
Because it was like printed on a QR code, Because what you could do is, like, with their stations, you could, all you had to do is just walk in and just scan your email paper with the QR code on it, and it would be able to pull up your information and then just print the badge from there.
Yeah, because with me, they didn't even need the paper because I don't have a printer.
Yeah.
They scan it from my phone.
Yeah, a lot of places can do that now.
And, you know, that actually brings up another, like, really good question is, you know, what if they could, like, if there was a, like, and I'm surprised that there hasn't been a company that's not done this yet, where...
Digital badge?
Yeah, like, create like an encrypted digital badge that would be tied to a person's smartphone to where, because, I mean, we all have...
But no, we don't.
Most of us.
Most of us.
Most modern people have.
But not everyone. So you've got that exclusionary factor that would make it not viable.
Well, no, like, but I would say this much, though, like, I do think it would really be a really cool option, though.
Yeah.
Because, like, for those, like, say, like, you want to be able to enjoy the festivities of the convention, but not, you know, like, either it could be a situation where, you know, you just don't have time necessarily to run by there and get the physical badge, or you just want to, like, run right in and go pick it up at your convenience. You know, I think having a digital smartphone badge would actually work pretty well.
I thought that's what it was.
No.
No, it wasn't, unfortunately. Like,
It was just so that they could have access to your information and print off the actual badge.
Oh,
Yeah.
okay. Oh, okay.
That's the way it is at the Ren fairs now. They give you when you buy your ticket for like a season pass or something like that, they give you like a little digital QR code that they can scan in so they can print your actual badge.
Yeah. But yeah, I think that'd actually be a really surprising idea. Like if somebody could be able to program in a digital badge, I think that would cut back on a lot of your line con problems.
Yeah, but then people can share their info or whatever, and then just log in and like people can get in for free and.
Well, I mean, but the same token though, like that's why, like again, it needs to be encrypted. It needs to be something that's really like tied in to where it's not something that can be shared across.
Yeah.
You know, like if anything, you could have a deal where it's like, you know, as part of the setup procedure, you have to, you know, take a photograph, you know, to do like a face photograph. And then, like, when you punch up the badge, it could have something like, you know...
And as soon as you do a cosplay that changes the way you look, then...
Well, again, though, like, I mean... there are ways to make it work, you know? Even in cosplay. There are always ways to make it work. But, yeah, like I said, I think having a digital badge would, like, cut back on a lot of their problems, too. They mailing badges and then coming up with a really great digital solution.
I heard that at is it E3?
Yeah.
That convention? Elijah Wood went to promote his game. He has a new game out called Transcendence.
Yeah.
I thought that was pretty interesting. It's
a
VR.
It's a VR game.
Yeah. So, did you hear about that?
I saw a little bit about it, but it didn't look interesting to me. So.
It's about the you're in a game where supposedly you have memories of an insane person.
Interesting.
Downloaded into yourself, meaning the visor, and whatever.
You're just going through an insane asylum, and it didn't look interesting to me. And I have a VR headset, so.
I'm just amazed how much Elijah Wood wants to completely shit on his nice guy image that he's cultivated in his early career.
Well, did you see, what was it, Willard?
Yes, and that was an excellent show. But the thing is, even then, he was still kind of a nice guy, just a pothead. I saw one movie that I forgot what the name of it was, but he plays a serial killer. And it's not very well written, so a lot of the psychodrama comes off as a bit ham-fisted. But yeah, he is really dead set on that genre of work.
Well, it's like the whole, like, what Jim Carrey was wanting to try to become a serial killer.
Oh, the number 23. Yeah, he was trying to be hard-boiled, and Didn't buy it.
Well,
And then,
it was 23 in Eternal Sunshine of the Spotless Mind.
Eternal Sunshine of the Spotless Mind was good though. 23 was laughable.
And then what was that Robin Williams movie where he 1 Hour Photo?
But that's Robin Williams.
Yeah.
The man can do no wrong.
1 Hour Photo.
No, actually, that was a good movie.
I liked it.
I worked at Blockbuster. I got it for free, and I actually would have paid to rent that.
But
Well, with Elijah Wood too, you also have to keep in mind that, like, you know, from pretty young, he was always been kind of typecast as the good guy.
Mm-hmm.
You know, like this happened even back. It started back in with the movie The Good Son, the one with him and Macaulay Culkin.
oh,
Yeah, and that, like, from there onwards, and you know, then being Frodo and the Lord of the Rings trilogy kind of cemented that reputation.
And the movie North.
Yeah, in
Remember that
North. Yeah.
Yeah.
So between all of that, you know, you kind of
The
can't blame
faculty.
him for wanting to constantly.
Well, the thing is, I don't blame him for wanting to break free of that mold. I blame him for always going to the same direction that is so easy to fuck up.
Yeah.
I'm crazy. Tee blood, 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 blood. This was written by a 13-year-old, wasn't it? No offense to 13-year-olds.
Yeah.
But I've written stuff as a 13-year-old. It wasn't good.
Could
Hell, the
be,
shit
well-
right now at 33 isn't very good. But that's beyond the point.
Well, I mean, like, I look at it this way, you know, it can't be any worse than The Faculty.
no, I don't
Which
think
was
so.
another Elijah Wood film where he was kind of the
Wait,
good guy.
he was?
Yeah, he
in
was
the
the-
faculty?
He was in
He
The
was the
Faculty.
nerdy kid that was helping to chase down the aliens.
All I remember from the faculty was aliens as teachers, Katie Holmes, and that's about it.
Elijah Wood.
And Jordana Brewster.
I totally don't remember that.
Yeah.
But I also didn't
It also
watch
had
the movie.
that. It also had that crazy one. It's
Wait,
one
no,
of,
there was another movie that came out at the same time that had a similar premise. Maybe it was that one that he was in. I can't remember. I thought it was The Faculty, but
Well, there's the faculty and Teaching Mrs. Tingle that came out at roughly the same
yeah,
time.
Katie Holmes was in Teaching Mrs. Tingle, and then Jordana Brewster, Elijah Wood, and a few others were in The Faculty.
yeah.
Yeah, Jordana Brewster being actually the main one that everybody focused on because she was like the cutie brunette, and that's right before she hit big time with Fast and Furious. But yeah, it was also The Faculty was known for one of the very few times that Pink Floyd ever authorized a official cover of one of their songs. And it
That's
took
right.
like Lane Staley, Tom Morello, the drummer for Jane's Addiction, and a few others on that one.
If you're unfamiliar, those are real heavy hitters of...
Rock.
The 90s.
And now we're descending into nostalgia lane where
Wasn't that when that Marcy Playground song came out, whatever?
it was a couple years before that.
Yeah.
Like Sex and Candy.
Yeah.
No, it wasn't that. What was the other one that came? That was the main theme of this movie. It was like Paranoia or something like that.
I
Oh,
think I'm
that's
paranoid.
Flagpole City. That's
Yeah.
a completely different group.
Yeah, that's
Yeah, that's
disturbing
Harvey.
behavior.
Is that Harvey Danger?
Harvey Danger.
That's
yeah.
Harvey.
Yeah.
The movie's disturbing behavior. You were thinking.
That's the one I'm thinking of. That's the one I was thinking of. I could not remember that freaking movie's name.
Yeah.
It came out around the same time as...
It did.
Yeah.
And they were all in high school. They were all weird shit happening.
Yep.
And they were essentially the same movie.
Yeah.
Good movies.
And I remember when they'd all bring those actors up on MTV Live to talk about it.
Welcome to Nostalgia Land, people.
Yeah.
We descended pretty much into like the late 90s. on
Hey, we have a title.
Yeah.
Welcome to Nostalgia
Yeah.
Land.
Yeah. But yeah, like so, man.
Yeah,
What's interesting about what Elijah Wood is doing is that he's working with an independent French studio,
Yeah.
which goes back to something that I was talking about, like in another episode, where indie is in now, working
Yeah.
with independent studios.
Indian.
Yeah, Indian.
Well, it's like another really like another thing they'll do is like Euro Studios are starting to gain more traction
Right.
in video game development. Like
Yeah.
another really good example has been Mercury Steam, who are the developers of the Lords of Shadow games. last gen, and they're actually behind the new Samus Returns, the Metroid 2 remake for Nintendo. Also, CD Projekt's like another really good example too behind the Witcher series. Euro Studios are actually starting to kind of take the forefront again, which we hadn't seen in like decades, like
Right.
since the heyday of Rare.
I would say 20 years.
Yeah, probably a good 15,
Yeah.
20 years. Yeah. At least for the console space. Like PC space, they've been around forever, but yeah.
Well, you also have a lower barrier of entry for the PC space.
Yeah, true that.
Because with consoles, you have to go through the console, you have to get them to okay it, so there's a lot more controls on it. With the PC, if you can code it and you can get it out there,
Yeah,
And
just
it's scalable.
look at Yandere Simulator and all of the Five Nights at Freddy's games.
Which, yeah, there's another really interesting bit, too, was this week, the creator of Five Nights at Freddy's, he had been working on a 6th iteration of it, and he actually had to quit. He was just like, I don't have the passion to make this game that right now, so I'm just going to have to take a seat back and just do something different for a little while.
Was he making another sister location game, or?
No, he was working on a main entry.
Huh.
And he just was like, yeah, I gotta stop for a while.
So I liked sister location. That was a pretty good game.
going back to the rise of the indie developer, which we've mentioned a few times, he actually has the freedom to do that. Whereas if it were a big name studio, they would just crack the whip and tell him to do whatever, and it would tarnish the series.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Sort of like Five Nights at Freddy's World.
Huh?
Or what was it? Freddy's World? Or it was like it was a horrible they took all the characters from Five Nights at Freddy's and turned them into like happy-go-lucky like RPG characters.
Yeah, I remember that one. He pulled it out pretty quickly because he was just like, "Yeah, this wasn't. It was a good idea at the time, but not
it
after
wasn't.
releasing it."
No, it wasn't. It wasn't a good idea.
Well, probably in his head it was. I mean,
Yeah.
because at the end of the day, it's like you want to try different stuff. At the same token, like for him in his case, well, he's known for Five Nights at Freddy's. So if he tries to do any other genres or any other types of games or any other types of characters, it's always going to be compared to Five Nights at Freddy's. And that's kind of one of the curses of being an indie developer. Like another really good example is Team Meat. Known for Super Meat Boy. They tried to work on a new game called Eugenic, and they spent years working on this game. And then finally, they just had to cancel development just because they just, I'm sure part of it was, just trying to get the logistics of everything they wanted to do to work. But another part of it is that, you sit there and try to do something completely different, or do you have to just sit there and just go for Super Meat Boy 2?
Which, with any creative endeavor, there's that element of, do I want to play it safe or do I want to risk? Because if you play it too safe, people will attack you. If you risk it all, you can lose it all.
Yeah.
So you're kind of having to walk that tightrope and hope for the best.
At least a good thing for Team Meat is that those two guys have actually had success and separately ever since Super Meat Boy. Ed McMillan actually was behind Binding of Isaac, which is another really good big indie game that made him a whole ton of money. I believe the other guy too has done pretty successful as a programmer as well. So it's with the failure of Eugenics, it's not bankrupting them.
Yeah.
In other words, so that's good at least.
Mm-hmm.
So, do you think indie developing would be better than big company developer?
It has its pros and its cons, just like indie publishing versus big box publishing.
A really good movie I would recommend everybody who even slightly interested in indie video game development is actually Video Game the Movie. It follows the story of Team Meat, Phil Fish, the developer of Fez, and Jonathan Blow, developer of
Braid.
Braid and now The Witness.
Yep.
and it kind of follows their tails. Like with the guy, it's like with Fez and Phil Fish, he's struggling to get his game noticed. For Team Meat, they're on the verge of releasing Super Meat Boy, but they're like financially strapped and like really hoping this game makes them millionaires overnight. And in the case of Jonathan Blow, it's him kind of retrospectively talking about what it took to make Braid and the sacrifices needed for it, and like what's happened ever since. Again, highly recommended movie. I suggest if you guys get a chance, you should all check it out.
Yep, it's a pretty good movie.
Yep. And on that note, I think we should actually kind of wrap things up here, because like we've kind of covered the whole gamut, and in this case, multiple decades
We've been
worth
going
of
for a while.
worth of stuff for tonight. So, yeah, guys, on behalf of the delivery man, Ron, Hans, and myself, this is your boy Feelers Billy Nwanda, if I can actually say my name right this time, and saying good night and good luck.
Au revoir.
Click like and subscribe.
Click like and subscribe.
Click over here for our previous videos and check out the description down below. Later.
Something like that. Peace out.